Admiral Krasthul stood on the command bridge of the Imperial dreadnought, his 4 eyes fixed on the small blue planet displayed on the view screen. Earth. Such a tiny world to have caused so much trouble in the reports. Open a channel to all their communication networks, he ordered, his voice carrying the natural superiority of the Vraxalar species. Let us see how quickly these primitives submit. The massive alien fleet had emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system just hours ago. 17 massive warships, each larger than humanity's largest cities, positioned themselves in a formation that military experts on Earth immediately recognized as both defensive and threatening. Their hulls gleamed with an alloy unknown to human science, absorbing rather than reflecting light. On Earth, panic spread quickly. News feeds showed massive ships visible even in daylight, hovering like dark stars above major cities. Military forces worldwide went to their highest alert level, but satellite imagery confirmed what many feared. The alien vessels had deployed smaller craft in Earth's orbit, easily intercepting and disabling the few defensive missiles that some nations had launched in panic. Inhabitants of Earth, Admiral Krasthul's message boomed across radio, television, and digital networks worldwide. His translation system rendered his speech into all major human languages simultaneously. I speak as representative of the galactic hegemony, rulers of 1,700 star systems. Your planet now stands at the edge of our expanding territory. You have 2 choices: immediate surrender and integration into our empire as a protectorate state, or resistance and elimination. You have 1 standard month to deliver your unconditional surrender. Any aggressive action before your answer will be met with immediate disciplinary measures. The message ended as abruptly as it had begun. In Washington, D.C., Defense Secretary William Grant rushed through the underground tunnels leading to the Presidential Emergency Operations Center. His face was pale, his normally immaculate uniform wrinkled from the rushed evacuation from the Pentagon. "Madam President," he said as he entered the secure bunker where President Olivia Bennett was meeting with her crisis team. "I've reviewed the preliminary assessments from NASA and our defense networks." President Bennett looked up, her expression grim but composed. "Give it to me straight, William. How bad is it?" Grant placed a tablet on the table, displaying images of the alien vessels. "They outgun us by factors we can't even calculate. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. Their smallest support craft could likely destroy our most advanced aircraft carrier. And those aren't even their warships." The room fell silent. National Security Advisor Patricia Coleman was the first to speak. "Surrender is unacceptable. We'd be signing humanity's death warrant, just more slowly." "Fighting seems equally suicidal," countered Secretary of State Richard Dias. "We need to buy time, find weaknesses." Meanwhile, at Naval Intelligence Headquarters, Lieutenant Ethan Powell ignored the evacuation orders. The young officer remained at his station, running analysis on the alien transmission patterns. Something about their communications didn't make sense. There were secondary signals, messages being transmitted on frequencies that seemed deliberately obscured from the main channels. After hours of work, Powell rushed his findings to Captain Samantha Carter. "Ma'am, I found something," he said, spreading his data across her desk. "These patterns here, they're not united. I'm seeing what looks like separate command structures, different encryption protocols. Almost like." "Like what, Lieutenant?" Carter asked, studying the patterns. "Like different factions, ma'am. They're not as united as they want us to believe. And if they're not united, then they can be divided," Carter finished, a small spark of hope igniting for the first time since the massive ships had appeared in Earth's skies. For 3 days after the ultimatum, Earth remained silent. This puzzled Admiral Krasthul. In the hegemony's long history of conquest, most civilizations responded immediately with either surrender or futile shows of defiance. "They do not answer, Admiral," reported Sub-Commander Vex, his skin flushing blue with confusion. "Our intelligence suggested they would be quick to yield when faced with superior force. Perhaps they struggle to form consensus, Krasful said, staring at the view screen. Their planet is divided into nation-states, a primitive arrangement. But behind Earth's silence, humanity prepared. In a vast underground complex beneath the Nevada desert, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez worked without sleep. The facility hummed with activity as engineers and scientists raced against time. Giant particle accelerators lined the walls, feeding energy into a device at the center of the main chamber. Another test, Dr. Rodriguez ordered. Her eyes were red-rimmed from exhaustion, but her voice remained steady. The team activated the prototype, and a sphere of distorted space appeared above the testing platform. General Frank Morrison watched from behind safety glass. "Will it work against their ships?" he asked when the test concluded. Dr. Rodriguez wiped sweat from her forehead. "It's not designed to destroy them. That would be impossible with our current technology. But this will disrupt the quantum fields their sensors use. It will blind them." "How long will the effect last?" "Minutes at most. But minutes might be all we need." On the diplomatic front, Ambassador Daniel Wright sat in a secure conference room with representatives from 40 nations. Maps and strategic assessments covered the walls. "We can't match their military power," Wright explained, "but every empire has discontents. The transmission patterns Lieutenant Powell discovered suggest internal divisions." A British intelligence officer raised her hand. "How do we exploit these divisions when we can't even communicate with potential allies?" Wright smiled. "We've been monitoring their ships. Some alien vessels are holding position at greater distances from the command ships. These might belong to subject species, reluctant partners in the hegemony. If we could establish contact." Across the globe, military forces moved underground or into remote areas. Missile silos were emptied, their contents relocated to hidden launch facilities. Nuclear submarines silently positioned themselves in deep ocean trenches. Civilian populations were evacuated from major cities to rural shelters. On the 7th day, Admiral Krasful received his first response from Earth, but not the one he expected. Instead of a formal answer to his ultimatum, human broadcasts simply stopped. All communications networks went silent. Satellites drifted into new orbits, no longer transmitting signals. "They're hiding," Krasful realized with surprise. "Preparing." "Shall we launch the disciplinary strike now?" asked Sub-Commander Vex. The lunar outpost would serve as an effective demonstration. Krasful considered this. Yes, the humans must understand resistance is futile. Target their lunar habitat. In a secret command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Bennett received word of unusual activity among the alien fleet. "They're repositioning," reported Air Force Colonel Susan Miller. "3 smaller vessels are moving toward the moon." President Bennett turned to Defense Secretary Grant. "Is Armstrong Base evacuated?" "Yes, Madam President. All personnel withdrew to the emergency shelters on the far side 2 days ago." Bennett nodded. "Then it's beginning. Send word to Captain Russell. Operation First Strike is approved." In Earth orbit, hidden among debris and powered down to avoid detection, 6 small human spacecraft waited. Their commander, Navy Captain Jack Russell, received the coded message and turned to his crew. "They've taken the bait," he said quietly. "The aliens are moving against the moon. Now we move against them." The hegemony cruiser Relentless approached the lunar surface with calculated precision. Its weapon systems targeted the abandoned human outpost, Armstrong Base. From his command chair, Sub-Commander Vex watched the targeting displays with satisfaction. This demonstration would surely break the humans' will to resist. "Weapons locked on human structure," reported his weapons officer. "Ready to fire on your command." "Proceed," Vex ordered. "Let the primitives witness the price of defiance." The Relentless fired a single energy beam. Armstrong Base disappeared in a blinding flash, leaving only a glowing crater where humanity's first permanent lunar settlement had stood. "Transmission ready to Earth," announced the communications officer. "Shall I send the message reminding them of their remaining 23 days to surrender?" Vex was about to agree when alert signals blared across the bridge. 6 objects approaching from Earth orbit. They were hidden among the debris. 6 small human ships accelerated toward the Relentless. They were tiny compared to the massive hegemony cruiser, converted space stations hastily fitted with engines and minimal weaponry. Vex laughed. They send these pathetic vessels against us. Target and destroy them. The targeting systems locked onto the approaching ships, but before the Relentless could fire, something unexpected happened. The targeting displays flickered and went dark. Warning signals flashed across all systems. What's happening? Vex demanded. Unknown energy field disrupting our quantum sensors, the science officer reported, panic evident in his voice. Weapons cannot achieve target lock. Aboard the lead human ship, Commander Jack Russell watched as Dr. Rodriguez's quantum disruption field took effect. The field is working, he reported over the secure channel to Earth Command. Their targeting systems are offline. Moving to Phase 2. His 6 ships split into 3 pairs, each approaching the hegemony cruiser from different vectors. The alien vessel fired randomly, energy beams lancing through space, but missing the agile human ships. They're firing blind, Russell observed. Just as predicted. All teams, prepare for boarding action. The human vessels weren't armed with conventional weapons. Instead, they carried Special Forces teams, Marines, and Navy SEALs trained for this unprecedented mission. Captain Allison Parks stood with her Marine squad in the airlock of Russell's ship. Her heart pounded as they approached the alien vessel, but her voice remained steady. Remember your training. Unknown environment, unknown adversaries. Move fast, secure the objectives. Their ship slammed against the hull of the Relentless, magnetic clamps engaging. Specialized cutting tools burned through the alien metal, creating an entry point. Parks led her team through the breach, the first humans to set foot on an alien warship. The interior was disorienting. Corridors curved in ways that defied human architectural logic. Lighting pulsed in patterns that hurt human eyes. They never expected to be boarded, Parks observed as her team moved through empty corridors. The few alien crew they encountered seemed utterly surprised, offering little resistance. They have no internal defenses. Similar teams entered from other points, following the ship schematics developed from Powell's analysis of alien transmissions. While some teams secured the bridge and captured the stunned Sub-Commander Vex, Parks led her squad to the engine room. Engine room secured, she reported over her comm unit. Their propulsion technology is incredible. Dr. Rodriguez will want to see this. Aboard the command ship, Admiral Kraz Thull received the shocking news. A hegemony cruiser captured by primitives. Impossible. Yet the Relentless had gone silent, and sensors showed human vessels attached to its hull. Launch all fighter squadrons, he ordered, his voice harsh with anger. Destroy the Relentless. No evidence of our technology can fall into human hands. But it was already too late. Even as hegemony fighters launched, the captured cruiser's engines flared to life. With human pilots at the controls, guided by hastily translated manuals, the massive vessel accelerated away from the moon, jumping to hyperspace before the fighters could reach it. Dr. Paul Martinez hadn't slept in 36 hours. His office walls were covered with alien symbols and mathematical formulas. Screens displayed scrolling data captured from the hegemony cruiser's computers. Coffee cups littered every surface. It's like nothing we've ever seen, he explained to the military officers crowded into his workspace. Their language uses multitonal patterns that human vocal cords can't produce, but their mathematical foundation is universal. The captured cruiser, now hidden in an asteroid belt beyond Mars, had yielded treasures beyond imagination. Star charts, communication protocols, weapon schematics, and most importantly, intelligence about the hegemony itself. Martinez pointed to a holographic display showing a galactic map. They've conquered 17 species across this region of the galaxy. Each colored area represents territory controlled by a different subject race, all under Vraxlar dominion. General Morrison studied the map. Any weaknesses we can exploit? Several, Martins replied, highlighting specific regions. These areas show conflict zones. The hegemony isn't as stable as they want us to believe. Some conquered species have been fighting back for centuries. In Washington, the United Earth Defense Council convened in an underground bunker. Representatives from major nations gathered around a table as Martins presented his findings via secure video link. The Vraxlar evolved as herd creatures, he explained, showing biological data extracted from the ship's medical database. Their psychology is built around overwhelming force and intimidation. They expect submission when they demonstrate superior strength. That explains their shock when we didn't immediately surrender, noted President Bennett. Exactly, Martinez continued. They've never faced anything like us. Human psychology, our individualism, our willingness to fight against overwhelming odds. It doesn't compute for them. The Chinese representative leaned forward. Can we communicate with these other conquered species? Form alliances? That's our next step, replied Defense Secretary Grant. We've modified the captured cruiser's communication systems. Captain Foster is preparing for a deep space mission to contact potential allies. In Earth orbit, the captured hegemony vessel gleamed under the work lights. Engineers had painted over the alien markings, replacing them with the new designation, UES Defiance. Inside, Captain Diana Foster studied the alien controls, now labeled with human terms. Navigation systems check, reported her executive officer. The alien hyperdrive is operational, though we barely understand how it works. Foster nodded. Communications. We can broadcast on hegemony frequencies. The translation matrix Dr. Martinez developed should allow basic communication with non-Vraxlar species. And our guest? Foster asked. Secure in the modified holding cell. He's been cooperative since we explained the alternative. Sub-Commander Vex had survived the capture of his vessel. After initial resistance, he had become a valuable source of information, especially once he realized the Vraxlar might not welcome his return after losing his ship. Meanwhile, Admiral Kraz Thull faced his own crisis. The loss of a cruiser to primitives was unprecedented in hegemony history. His superiors demanded explanations. The humans employ unconventional tactics, he reported to the Supreme Council. They allowed us to destroy their lunar base, then struck when our guard was lowered. Unacceptable excuses. The hegemony overlord's voice boomed through the communication channel. You will resolve this situation immediately. The deadline for human surrender remains in effect. When it expires, you will obliterate their civilization. Kraz Thull bowed in submission, but doubt clouded his mind. Something about these humans disturbed him. They didn't react according to any of the predictive models developed over thousands of years of hegemony expansion. On Earth, final preparations for Captain Foster's mission were completed. The Defiance would attempt to reach the nearest system where, according to Vex, a species called the Tlaxay maintained a hidden resistance against Vraxlar rule. This is our best hope, President Bennett told Foster during their final communication. Find us allies, Captain, because in 17 days, the full might of the hegemony will descend on Earth. The UES Defiance emerged from hyperspace near a small rocky planetoid in a binary star system. According to Sub-Commander Vex's information, this unremarkable celestial body housed a secret Tlaxay outpost. Captain Foster stood on the bridge, watching the barren surface on the view screen. No signs of life or technology, reported her science officer, Lieutenant Henry Walsh. Either Vex lied to us, or they're very good at hiding. They'd survived centuries of hegemony oppression, Foster said. They wouldn't make it easy to find them. Begin broadcasting on the frequency Vex provided. The message was simple. Humans from Earth seeking allies against the Vraxlar. They repeated it for hours, waiting in the shadow of the planetoid. On the third day, a response came. A small vessel appeared seemingly from nowhere, approaching the Defiance cautiously. They were hiding in a cloaked facility, Walsh said with admiration. Our sensors didn't detect a thing. A transmission came through, displaying a being unlike anything humans had ever seen. The Tlaxai had 6 limbs arranged around a central body, with multiple eyes set in a ring pattern. Despite their alien appearance, the tension in their posture was unmistakable. "You pilot a hegemony vessel," the Tlaxi said through the translation matrix. "Yet you claim to be enemies of the Vraxlar. Prove your identity or be destroyed." Foster explained humanity's situation and their capture of the cruiser. She offered to send shuttle to meet on neutral ground, bringing Sub-Commander Vex as evidence of their claims. Hours later, Foster sat across from Vartek, leader of the Tlaxi resistance. Despite his alien features, his skepticism was clear. "In all my cycles, I have never heard of a hegemony vessel being captured by a pre-spacefaring civilization," Vartek said. "How did you achieve this?" Foster explained the quantum disruption technology and the boarding action. As she spoke, Vartek's posture changed from skepticism to astonishment. "In 1 month, you've accomplished more against the hegemony than we have in decades," he admitted. "Your species thinks differently. You don't accept inevitable defeat." "We need allies," Foster explained. "The hegemony will send their full fleet against Earth in 2 weeks. Vartek made a gesture equivalent to a nod. "The timing may be fortunate. Something is happening within the hegemony. Resources are being diverted to central systems. Their control over outlying regions has weakened." "Rebellion?" Foster asked hopefully. "Not yet, but discontent grows. Your success might be the catalyst needed. I will contact other resistance groups." Back on Earth, Dr. Rodriguez worked with a team of engineers to scale up the quantum disruption technology. The prototype had worked against 1 ship, but the full hegemony fleet would require something far more powerful. "We need to create a disruption field that can cover Earth's entire orbital space," she explained to General Morrison. "It won't stop their weapons completely, but it will reduce their effectiveness by 70%. "Will it be ready in time?" Morrison asked. Rodriguez hesitated. "With current resources, no. We need better understanding of quantum field mechanics." At that moment, a technician rushed in. "Doctor, the Defiance has returned from its mission." They'd brought visitors. 2 Tlaxi engineers accompanied Captain Foster into the facility. They carried devices of alien design. "Dr. Rodriguez," Foster said, "these are Chief Engineers Maztek and Kirizar of the Tlaxi Resistance. They brought some technology I think you'll find interesting." The Tlaxi engineers approached the quantum disruption prototype. "Primitive but ingenious," Maztek observed. "With our knowledge of hegemony systems, we can increase efficiency by a factor of 20. In Earth orbit, Admiral Eric Johnson surveyed the growing defense fleet. Hundreds of human spacecraft had been hastily armed and armored. They would be no match for hegemony warships in direct combat, but they weren't designed for conventional warfare. Now mixed among the human vessels were a dozen ships of alien design, Tlaxi fighters and a few vessels from other species who had joined the alliance. Johnson addressed the combined fleet from his command ship. "Today we fight not just for Earth, but for every world that has suffered under hegemony rule. They expect us to cower. Instead, we will show them how humans wage war." The deadline arrived. Across Earth, people watched the skies with dread as thousands of hegemony warships emerged from hyperspace, darkening Earth's orbit like a metal cloud. The fleet dwarfed anything humanity had prepared for. Capital ships larger than cities, surrounded by swarms of smaller craft. From his flagship, Supreme Commander Vex Moore surveyed the primitive planet with contempt. The Supreme Council had sent him to replace Admiral Krasthul after the embarrassing loss of a cruiser. Vex Moore had no intention of allowing further humiliations. "No response to our final surrender demand," reported his communications officer. "As expected," Vex Moore replied. "Begin the attack. Target their major cities first." The hegemony fleet moved into attack formation, weapons systems powering up. Victory would be swift and absolute, a standard subjugation operation expected to last hours at most. Then something unexpected happened. As the first wave of hegemony ships entered lower orbit, a ripple of energy expanded from Earth's surface. The quantum disruption field, magnified by Tlaxi technology, enveloped the planet in a protective bubble. On the hegemony flagship, alarms blared. "Targeting systems failing," reported the weapons officer. "Sensors degraded by 60%. Vexmore snarled in frustration. "Switch to manual targeting. They cannot shield an entire planet effectively." But as the hegemony forces adjusted their attack, Earth's defenders launched their counterattack. Hundreds of small craft rose from hidden bases, each carrying unconventional weapons designed specifically to exploit hegemony weaknesses identified by the Tlaxi. Captain Ryan Butler led the first wave in his ship, the Harrier. "Remember the plan," he transmitted to his squadron. "We're not trying to win a conventional battle. Hit and fade. Target their sensor arrays and engine exhausts." The human vessels darted between the massive hegemony ships like insects attacking giants. They fired precisely at vulnerable points, then veered away before the aliens could respond. The Tlaxi fighters moved with even greater precision, their pilots having fought the hegemony for generations. Vexmore watched in growing alarm as his fleet's formation began to break down. "This is impossible," he growled. "They are primitives. How are they coordinating such precise attacks?" The answer came in the form of a massive energy surge from Earth's surface. Every hegemony communication channel was suddenly flooded with human transmissions, tactical orders, and targeting data. "They've hacked our communication systems," the communications officer reported in shock. "They're using our own network against us." Hour after hour, the battle raged. The hegemony vessels destroyed dozens of human ships, but for each loss, the defenders adapted their tactics. When conventional attacks failed, humans used their damaged vessels as weapons, ramming them into critical systems of the larger hegemony ships. By the third day, Vexmore faced an unprecedented situation. Nearly half his fleet was destroyed or disabled. His remaining ships had retreated to higher orbit, regrouping for another attack. "This defies all military doctrine," he told his war council. "They continue fighting even when victory is impossible. Their smaller ships sacrifice themselves to protect their planet. It's irrational." Most disturbing to Vexmore was their behavior in battle. Intercepted communications revealed that the humans found inspiration in near defeat. They even laughed in the face of death. When Captain Butler's ship was crippled and surrounded by hegemony destroyers, his final transmission before ramming his vessel into the command section of a hegemony dreadnought was recorded by alien systems. "Let's show these aliens how humans say goodbye." The explosion disabled one of the hegemony's largest warships, causing a chain reaction that destroyed two nearby vessels. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Bennett received the latest battle reports. Millions had died. Major cities lay in ruins from the attacks that had broken through their defenses, but Earth still stood. "They're pulling back," General Morrison reported, "regrouping at the edge of the solar system." "Not retreating?" Bennett asked. "No. Vexmore is requesting reinforcements from their central systems, but our new allies report something unexpected. Many of the subject species in their empire are watching this battle closely. Our resistance has inspired others." "Then we continue fighting," Bennett said firmly. "Earth will not stand alone." The Great Hall of the United Nations had been rebuilt after the hegemony bombardment. Sunlight streamed through its new crystal dome, designed with both human and alien aesthetics. Inside, representatives from Earth and 12 formerly subjugated species gathered in what historians would later call the First Confederation Council. Ambassador Kelly Wilson stood at the central podium, her posture straight despite the scars visible on her face, wounds from when the original UN building had been destroyed in the first wave of attacks. 6 months ago, the Galactic hegemony came to Earth with an ultimatum. She began, her voice carrying to all corners of the hall. "Today we gather not as conquerors or the conquered, but as equals united against tyranny." The alien representatives showed various signs of agreement according to their physiologies. The Tlaxi pulsed with blue light, while the reptilian Scrath clicked their jaw plates together. Vartek of the Tlaxi moved forward to speak. For 3,000 years, my people lived under Vraxalar dominion. We fought when we could, but hope faded with each generation. Then humans entered the galactic stage. He gestured with his upper limbs toward the Earth delegation. These beings, with technology centuries behind ours, captured a hegemony warship in their first space engagement. When faced with overwhelming force, they did not surrender, they innovated. At the back of the hall, Dr. Rodriguez sat beside General Morrison, both now wearing the dark blue uniforms of the newly formed Earth Defense Force. Morrison leaned over to whisper, "Did you ever imagine your quantum disruption theory would lead to this?" She smiled slightly. Science was always about possibilities. Humans just happened to be very good at turning theoretical possibilities into practical solutions. The Scrath ambassador, a massive being named Kisk, moved to the podium next. His translator converted his hissing speech to human language. The hegemony believed strength came only from technological superiority and overwhelming numbers. Humans taught us that true strength comes from adaptability and determination. My people have pledged our shipyards to the Confederation fleet. Beyond Earth's solar system, the war continued. The hegemony had withdrawn to their core systems, but the rebellion sparked by Earth's resistance had spread like wildfire. System after system declared independence, often led by veterans who had fought alongside humans at the Battle of Earth. In the Vraxalar High Command, Supreme Leader Dresmor reviewed the latest devastating reports. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his advisors. "We controlled half the galaxy." "The humans," replied Strategic Advisor Krell. "They spread more than weapons to our subject races. They spread ideas." Across captured hegemony communication channels, warnings now flowed in the opposite direction from what the Vraxalar had intended. Imperial commanders advised, "Avoid direct engagement with human forces. They do not follow conventional tactics. They seem to fight more fiercely when victory appears impossible." Most disturbing to hegemony leadership was the psychological effect humans had on their former subjects. Species that had accepted their place in the hierarchy for millennia now fought with previously unseen ferocity, often employing unpredictable human tactics. Back on Earth, Ambassador Wilson concluded the historic first meeting of the Confederation. "We never wanted this war. But now that it's been forced upon us, we will see it through to its end, not just for ourselves, but for every species that has suffered under hegemony rule." The assembled representatives rose in unified agreement, creating a moment captured in images that would spread to thousands of worlds. As the meeting concluded, Captain Diana Foster, now Admiral of the Confederation's First Fleet, studied the star charts showing their next targets. Her fleet now included ships from 7 different species, all united under a common cause. "The hegemony expected us to run when they arrived at Earth," she told her multinational staff. "Now they're the ones running." Her executive officer, a Tlaxi named Zervac, made the clicking sound that served as their species' version of laughter. "Indeed, Admiral. For the first time in galactic history, it is the Vraxalar who have received a warning to run." Foster nodded, looking at the display showing their next objective, a major hegemony supply base. "And we're going to make sure they keep running."